Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Meet the Expert series by edVentr. Today we have an expert on marketing, Vimal Pillai. We both almost started our career together in the corporate world. And before I share the formal profile of Vimal, how I see Vimal is probably as a born marketeer. Some people have to acquire skills, but I think and some people have skills inherent within them, and that's how I have seen Vimal, who we may call as an expert, but more than an expert, Vimal is an enthusiast. Who has been trying new things, making his own formulae of success, and constant experimentation, constant doing, and this is what has led to the concoction of marketing that Vimal has created. I have seen Vimal as a brilliant writer. He's been writing content, I think, ever since, and something which is becoming popular is 100-word stories on Facebook. The other attribute of Vimal is that he's a genius at reading patterns, and these patterns help him understand the consumer. This is my reading, the way I see him, and of course today we'll understand what his formula of success is. A bit on the formal side, Vimal has worked in marketing for 12 plus years in communications marketing, digital technologies. He has been featured among the most influential MarTech leaders by World Marketing Congress in November 2017, and is one of the 100 most influential national leaders in marketing, listed by CMO Asia in July 2015. So it's quite a prolific profile. Hi, Vimal. Welcome.
Hey, Sandeep. Thank you for that extremely kind introduction. I hope I can live up to it with your participants.
Definitely. It's your natural subconscious content that is very useful. That has been useful for me, so I'm sure it will be useful for everyone. One very interesting observation or pattern that I've seen is that marketing has transformed. There's been digitization, there's been social media, the way people are advertising on social media, the way they use digital platforms and social media channels for marketing. There has been a complete overhaul of how marketing has been performed, and you have been in the crux of it for the last 10 years. You've seen this transformation or evolution. How do you see this entire evolution from your perspective as a marketeer?
So you mean the evolution from offline to digital, or just to be a little more
Exactly.
Okay. So see, marketing. There's a very nice saying in marketing, or a phrase. It says, I definitely know that half of the money I spend on marketing is going waste. The problem, however, is that I don't know which half is going waste. So this has been a classic problem for marketers, right from the time maybe when Ogilvy was copywriting, to the era till now. It's been a classic problem because I am sending a communication. Then I have to find ways and means of getting the response. I have to find ways and means. I put a lot of money on research to get that feedback, to get that pulse, to get that differentiating formula which separates me from the rest. And what is it that ticks with the customer? And so depending on my brand, product, or service, the customer could be, the proposition could be to 5 people, the proposition could be to 1 million people. So how do I make it so customized and clear to each one of them? That's like the toughest challenge in marketing. And if you can actually get that, that means you've sort of passed with flying colors. So with the digital, what has happened is, every time I'm going to run a campaign, every time I go to market with something, there is, and the reaction is gauged, the reaction is captured. So now with automation, with technology coming into marketing and powering marketing, today I can automate the things which were actually taking a lot of time, which means I need to obviously put my thoughts on the idea and creative. That can't be automated. I still have to think. I have to understand the target audience. I have to put something out in terms of communication. But then, correct. So that now exactly gives me behavior patterns. Now it exactly gives me demographic analysis. It exactly gives me how I should treat every customer as an individual and not as a group. I can go to the most micro level of segmentation. Now that is the power. So I know that Sandeep would shop between 7 and 9 in the morning for my product, but I know that maybe ABC person would shop at 3 to 4, or I know that Sandeep will buy groceries on the 30th of the month, but someone else might do on some other time. So these insights make the marketer today so rich with digital. Now, going back to my quote, so today I know that 100% of my money put on marketing can be useful, at least in the digital medium, because I'll know whether it's working or not working and so on. So that's what the change is, and it's a change of a century. This quote, I really don't know who wrote it and when, I rather know who wrote it, but I don't know when. But I think now this is completely turned on its head. But he captured the pain point in, 2 lines. That pain point is now gone. If you use digital in a sensible fashion, then that pain point is gone. So marketer is extremely empowered today. That's what I would say is the transformation.
Absolutely. The way I see data being utilized, or what you're saying, all these parameters based on which you can optimize your target audience. I really wonder that how we were doing this in the past, which was creating billboards, giving advertisements in the newspaper, because it was not driven by analytics. It was just an assumption that this is working. You see your P&L figures better, you feel that marketing is working well, right?
Absolutely. So, Sandeep, the interesting thing that I notice now is that even billboards, they are applying an element of IoT, or applying an element of how you can capture the eyeballs and how people reacted to it. That could be, as a digital dashboard available to a marketer. So let's say I have put billboards in 10 areas in, 10 most prominent places in my city. Then how did the traffic who came there react to it? The billboards could be digital. They could be, with sensors and so on, capture an expression of the audience, or things like that. And that also gives me an idea of, okay, now my creative is working well or not working well, so many things. So even at that level of empowerment, even at the online, where we think it's almost unimaginable to sort of gauge the reaction, marketing with the power of technology and digital is going there. And it's
Absolutely.
quite interesting, the time that we are going to live in.
Absolutely. I think we don't need to coin this word digital marketing, because digital is now an inherent part of marketing. So I mean, if you talk about marketing, it cannot be without digital, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So digital is now, like, when I keep talking to people also, they say, okay, digital, but what exactly in digital? Because today everyone is saying everything is digital. So, you have to go down a step or two and explain, in digital I mean A, or digital I mean B.
Definitely, and all this has led to a transformation, a skill transformation, right? The marketeer of yesterday, which I say, a decade back, and a marketeer of today is very different. So how do you identify, or how do you see this skill gap, and what are these critical skills that the marketeer of today needs, which maybe we did not require a decade ago?
Very, very interesting question, Sandeep. And I think, based on my limited experience, I would think that, let's classify this into 2 parts. The first part is what needs to change with the current marketer vis-a-vis someone, say, 10, 15 years ago, and what remains constant. So, you have a product, service, brand. The value proposition, how it will change the life of a customer, the understanding of that bit of marketing remains constant. I need to still understand what my proposition in terms of a product, service, brand, whatever it is, whatever is my proposition, how will it add value to you as a customer? That I have to understand. There's nothing digital there. I have to understand the pulse, understand that part. What is the value prop? Point one. Point two, who is the customer? What is that persona of the customer? I need to understand that. There could be iterative ways to understand. You can use digital to understand that, but then you need to understand that. So that is not changing. I need to understand the pulse of the customer and this. Now, what changes, however, is that it is not no more of a trial and error method. So I don't need to run 5 campaigns to understand that maybe this works and this doesn't work. Or, it's not only about the creativity aspect of it and things like that. So there's obviously creativity, that angle is there. But now, like I said, with the data coming in, you can go to market faster with ideas and concepts. So it's faster. The iterations are faster. So it's like, like Mark Zuckerberg says, you move fast and, fail and move forward, or whatever he says. So, it's
Very
that
fast.
level of, yeah, fail fast. So it's that level, so you can do an iteration, fail fast, and move ahead. Move fast and break things. Sorry, I just wasn't getting the phrase. It's move fast and break things. You just keep moving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Data is always going to empower you.
I can
So the,
imagine.
the
Let's say,
marketer of today, just to add, needs a little more. Sorry. So I'm saying he needs a little more to be a little more data savvy, a little more in terms of understanding what the customer is saying, reading the statistics that come out of campaigns or web traffic and so on, and understand what exactly that means in terms of a marketing parlance. If we can convert that and understand, then a marketer is better placed than most others.
Definitely. I think we've also become agile, with this entire, digital revolution. Because just imagine, if let's say the CEO of a company sees his billboard and says, "I don't like it. Can you change the design on the billboard?" Vis-a-vis, changing a Facebook ad. So it has definitely there's a lot more agility in terms of evolving or making changes to a campaign which may not be working, performing, or giving the right brand image. So
No, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Now concepts like A/B testing. I can run two campaigns at the same time with my audience and check which one is getting more engagement. And more. So I understand. Okay, that this is a value proposition that works better in real time. This
exactly.
these figures I'll get in real time. So it couldn't be a. I mean, it can't get any better, right? If you can get something like that.
You mentioned data, and I feel that I mean, data and analytics in marketing have become the backbone to the extent that a marketer can also be called as a pseudo data scientist, which apparently is one of the highest paid jobs in the world today. And today with data, you're able to identify audiences based on how you define your product personas. You can segregate based on region, demographics, and multitude of parameters to get more efficient result of your campaign. And how do you see the impact of using these? I know you like studying patterns, and you like reading patterns, and making changes in accordance with these patterns. How do you see past data patterns or current data patterns use analytics and help in better performance?
Okay, so that's an interesting one. So let's say we run a mobile app, and you know, so the biggest learning I have had. So I have had the opportunity to also work on a startup which enables or empowers students with financial payment habits, or say another startup product or brand that we had, which used to enable facilitating credit through a mobile app, or
Mhm.
extending a line of credit through a mobile app. So what I have seen, in this experience is that we go with a lot of assumptions as a marketer. So when I'm saying
Mhm.
I'm going to market to this segment, I'll go with a lot of assumptions. These are based on my experiences. So we have lived our lives, and so there are so many things that we learn. There are so many things that we hear and we believe. So different things form layers of experience that we have in ourselves. So
Mhm.
when a marketer goes with a campaign, he first has to unlearn. If he thinks that, okay, these guys, their credit limit, that my due diligence says their credit limit should be, say, 10,000 rupees. Now I would always assume that maybe this guy won't take a flight, or maybe this guy won't buy a car. These are assumptions. So you have to first unlearn or detach your experiences, and that is where
Mhm.
digital helps. So if you're going with a certain assumption, digital will always come back with a shock very, very fast. So when you believe that, okay, this brand won't work with the guy, or this set of people, and then you start promoting and seeing some different result, it's like a eye opener for you. And then you're like, okay, let me unlearn, let me not go and make any assumptions, let me try
Mhm.
it out. And today with digital, I have the power to test multiple ideas, or multiple messaging, or things, or multiple products for that matter, and let me see. For example, I would think that they would not take a credit line to buy grocery for a month, but then
Mhm.
exactly the opposite of that would happen. So these are learnings that you pick up along the way. So it's very interesting in that sense. So my view is that keep all the assumptions aside, unlearn whatever you've learned. If it's a
Mhm.
new audience that you're targeting, go with a fresh slate. The medium will give you all the learnings, and then you can use that to fine tune. That's the way it might be helpful.
Definitely, definitely. I think one thing that has always remained consistent is your content and creativity. Because no matter how much automation may happen through these digital media, but content is very individual centered, or an organization centered, or a brand centered thing, and creativity around that is also, it's a story that you're telling, right?
Right.
And which is something that has remained consistent, which is very individual. How I mean how do you practice this? Understanding the customer sometimes help you understand your own brand.
Right.
Is it an inside out approach, or is it an outside approach to build content and do all the creativity around it?
Sandeep, I believe, and it's not, it's a perception. Many people might agree, might not, but a marketer needs to have that level of empathy about a customer. If you want to get your strategy right, you need to be exactly the customer. You need to know who you are, what you have learned in life. All is great, and you can use it subsequently. But when you're end customer, you need to be him. The great Ogilvy says that spend your entire time with the product for 21 days, and then you will get an idea of, okay, what is it and why it ticks with the customer, and so on. And that's where you will write great copy, or that's where you will write great content, right? The idea is first to empathize with the customer, whoever it is, and see what he would like to read. Spend a little time. Content writing, I divide normally my content writing into three parts. The first is the empathy bit of it, the catching the pulse. I need to tell you clearly, I need to somehow figure out with research, and then spend a little more time on research to understand what exactly ticks with them. What is the style of writing. So if I'm writing content which is directed to a millennial, vis-a-vis writing content which is directed to a pensioner, then obviously my style of writing changes. I am the same writer, but the style will change. Or if I'm writing with due respect, if I'm the same product, maybe if I'm promoting it to different genders, the way I write might change. Different kinds of professionals, the way I write might change. A technology professional, my writing might be different. Simple words might be different. I might not use strong, I might use robust with technology. So disruptive is a word I'll use with technology audience, because that means has a positive connotation. Does it necessarily have a positive connotation in something else? No, absolutely not. So these are fine nuances you need to know about the customer, for which you first need to know the target audience. Point one. Now, point one, you know the target audience, then you exactly be clear what you want to communicate. Now, irrespective of what it is, you could be writing a blog, you could be writing, like you say, 50 words, it could be an elevator pitch, it could be a huge presentation, whatever it is. There are multiple ways to communicate. It could be a video. So content would not necessarily mean that you have to write something. Of course, video will have its script and so on, but the medium might be different. You don't need the audience to really read you. They could see something about you, they could hear something about you. Podcasts are popular. They could view you in a video. So anything. So whatever is the medium, I need to exactly know what I want to communicate. Then I would break that down into a set of 4 or 5 things. I will try and create a great beginning and connect the ending. So if my title says ABCD, at the end, when let's say I'm writing an article, the mediums we'll get to later. So just to recap, the first step is I empathize, get the pulse. Second is I understand what I want to communicate. The third is I'll break it into a fashion where my title and my end, sort of makes the loop complete. So when I start reading and when I end reading, it feels to the reader or the viewer that I'm not cheated. Okay, he said that ABCD is what he's talking about. He ended with that. Now, mostly what happens is you start with a promise. Whatever you start with is the promise that is set in the mind of the user. Now, when you end with something totally different, or it doesn't gel with that promise, the 9 out of 10 times you will get a reaction saying that I didn't understand this. This is some whatever. Then reaction would be a negative and not a desirable reaction for a marketer. So if these three things are taken care of, in my opinion, then you've got your content structured, and then you could use any medium you want. You could put that into a video, a podcast, and that's the skill of a marketer, how you want to do that.
You mentioned podcast, and I myself have experienced that people have developed this affinity to listening to podcasts, which
Right.
is now become like a trend. And anybody who I talk to who's constantly on the learning curve, what they enjoy is listening to podcasts, of people with experience. Why podcasts have all of a sudden become so popular? Any thoughts on that?
So I think, Sandeep, podcasts have been there for a little while.
Right.
I think what has also become popular is the fact that so if I remember correct, when smartphones weren't that popular, there were still podcasts,
Exactly.
and yeah. So today, what's happened is your access to a podcast is easy and it's segmented. So let's say I want to learn about something called digital marketing, argument's sake.
Mhm.
Now, what are the avenues? So earlier it was like I had to read and read and read, right? Now I can go and check out a video. Now someone says that this guy is a genius in digital marketing, hear him out. Now then there are podcasts available. Now I have a mobile phone, I have internet connection. So the world today is so connected, and the access to information is so high that it's completely democratized. So I can record a podcast here, and if it's going to be of interest, I'm sure audience in Mauritius, for them it's just a click of a button away, right? So the access is what has sort of made it a little more popular than it should have been, is what not should have been, a little more popular is what I think. So ideally what's happened today is that the consumption has gone up because access is very easy now, because the consumption has gone up. And second part is, you can pick and choose. So it's today the content is not like you go into a library and you're trying to figure out, which book from which shelf. Now today it's like a supermarket, everything is on your mobile. So you say that I want to know about financial markets only, great. Then I want X podcasts on financial markets only, great. I want to know which are the top 5 speakers, great. So everything is like 2 to 3 minutes away for you. You do you search 2 to 3 things and you arrive at the exact thing that you want to listen to. So the content consumption in that sense is great. Now this is one part, this is the consumption part. Now let me come to the supply part of it. So who is uh, one of the things I've noticed in my journey across marketing and technology is that there are many people who have done things repetitively over a period of time and built immense knowledge to the finer nuances of what they are doing. It could be technology and so on and so forth. So there are multiple people who have finer ideas and brilliant insights on certain functions, or any function for that matter. For example, now you're running this venture, 5 years down the line you will have insights on the finest nuances of this. Now where the problem comes in is the ability to articulate and communicate. That is where a certain set of inhibition trickles in. And now with formats like video, maybe people are not really comfortable with the video where too many people are seeing you and so on. So podcast is a medium where you're not seen. So that inhibition goes down a little bit. And that's where, if you see, even at technology, there are many people who are super geniuses in their areas on technology. So but there's a certain inhibition if I have to present it to an audience, or be recorded in a video. But that is where I think this is my personal view, that is where that inhibition goes down with podcasts. So when the inhibition goes down, you're a little more confident uh, than otherwise. And maybe I'm just thinking on the supply side, that may be a really important thing for podcasts to pick up. So
Exactly. I
yeah,
mean,
to sum it up, it's access and the platform enabling you to share your inhibition.
exactly. People while driving, they've stopped listening to music and they're listening to podcasts. I'm sure they cannot
Oh,
watch a
absolutely.
YouTube video, can be lethal. But
Yeah.
while sleeping, people are listening to podcasts instead of music. So I think there's this whole self discovery mode where you're trying to learn through the perspective of the other person, and you're enjoying these conversations with experts who probably were not comfortable sharing videos. And today there's so much content when we talk about podcasts, but a very interesting, very well articulated thought process. What you feel, why podcasts have picked up. Now one very interesting concept that you've introduced me to is zero cost marketing.
Right.
Do you like to talk about zero cost marketing? I know we are introducing it as a course on edVentr as well, where people can learn about zero cost marketing. What is zero cost marketing in your words?
So, Sandeep, what I've seen over the years in marketing, of course, I've worked alongside you, and we've enjoyed a great stint many years back. We were both learning the ropes together then. What I've seen is that over the years is that there's a strong belief that marketing can happen only if you have the money. If there is no money, then there's no marketing. So when I even since I am on the other side now, and I also recruit people for marketing. So the first question that in a normal interview, the first question that comes to me is that, okay, what is your budget? So is it really dependent on the budget, is something that got me thinking. So if now situation like a COVID or things like that, there are times when it might be that you might have a very tight budget. There are times when you will get the budget also. It could be dynamic in that sense. So let's assume that there is no budget or there is absolute zilch budget. Can't you market? Is what my question was, and the thought process led to something called as zero cost marketing. So what I'm trying to do there in zero cost is, to identify techniques where can you do a, like growth hacking methods are there, or things where you use technology and marketing as a combination, and see that you get maximum ROI or desired results with very very minimal investments. And of course, if you have an organization that's backing you, then if they see that results with in a zero cost marketing method, then in my own experience, the organization comes forward, the management comes forward, and they'll tell you, great, now let's put in a little more money and check, because that then becomes a self-fueling, self-sustainable model of marketing. So that is what zero cost marketing is all about. How do you leverage these new age technologies and marketing concepts, to enhance your ROI of marketing by spending very less but achieving the desired results.
Definitely, definitely. No, definitely. This is indeed very very interesting. And today, we can generate content. Social media is a free and open platform. You've got YouTube. If people like your content, they'll start watching it. How much money would you spend in sharing knowledge? Creating a video with your own knowledge and communicating it with people. Let's say if you're working with an organization of 300 people, each individual has a story to share at the end of the day. And that can also
Correct.
become a solid marketing tool, with the wealth of experience and knowledge being shared on all these platforms. So yes, very very
Absolutely.
interesting, very interesting, Vimal. It was fun chatting with you, and we look forward to your courses on edVentr, whether it is content marketing or zero cost marketing or anything to do with digital marketing. I know there's an ocean of knowledge which we are yet to explore, and we've started scratching the surface, and we look forward to having your workshops, courses, and sessions on edVentr. And thank you once again. Thank you once again for this interaction.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for having me. I hope your users and attendees on the webinar found it useful. And thanks once again, and all the best for all your future endeavors.